Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back.
Shabbat Shalom.
Continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we are going to be dealing with Bereshit, chapters 46 through chapter 48. Genesis 46 through 48, and we're going to be doing some highlights from these chapters. We'll read some of the verses. Of course, we want to always be sure to remember to read from the Torah on the Shabbat. But we want to be able to somewhat keep up with the portion, which when we do one chapter a week, sometimes we fall behind. So we want to try to catch up a little bit and look at some highlights from Bereshit 46 through 48. All right, so let's begin just by, we'll read some of Genesis chapter 46 and talk about a little bit of that and deal with some interesting things. Remember to go ahead and put your questions, comments into the comment section so that we can have a little bit of participation going on over here. We're going to, as I said, go ahead and pull up the scriptures here and read some from Bereshit 46. We want to read, let's see, we'll begin reading here, starting with the first verse, and let's see, let's read down to, let's see, how far do we want to go? Let's read the first 6 verses here. We'll look at. Okay, hold on one second. Go ahead and put this up here. Okay, go ahead.
And it says, And Yisrael set out with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and slaughtering said the Elohim of his father Yitzhak. And Elohim spoke to Yisrael in the visions of the night, and said, Yachob, Yachob. And he said, Here I am. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Mizraim, for I shall make you there into a great nation. I myself am going down with you to Mizraim, and I myself shall certainly bring you up again, and let Yosef put his hand on your eyes. And Yachob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel brought their father Yachob and their little ones, and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to transport him. And they took their livestock and their property which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and came into Mizraim. Yachob and all his seed with him.
Okay, all right, very good. Very good. All right, so let us think about a few things here. When we go up here, something interesting that I always like to point out when we come across it is here when we look at the fact that Israel / Jacob is, as we saw back in, some chapters earlier, where Jacob, Yaakov's name was changed. And we see that he here is, in the first verse, it says, and Israel set out, right? And so when we look at it as it relates to the narration of the chapter, it refers to Yisrael as Yisrael, right? But within the narration, as it is being kind of carried out, we see verse 2 where it says Elohim spoke to Yisrael in the visions of the night and said, Yaakov, Yaakov. So within the verse, we see, again, within the context of the story, the one being referenced is Yisrael. But within the story, as the Most High calls to Yisrael in this visions of the night, in this dream, whether it's a dream or whether he's awake, these things that he is seeing. Here, let's look at this as we're saying it here. Let's just look at this. It refers to this as visions of the night. So you go over here. Let's pull up some things here so that we're able to look at some things here. Some of our study tools. Let's make this a little bigger so that we can see it here. Okay, visions of the night. Lila. This is night. It's just simply what it is, right? The twist away of the night, of the light, right? The light has been gone, has been taken away, and now we're dealing with the night, the Lila. And here the visions. What is this word here? Mara, a vision, a mirror, looking glass, vision. Interesting. A vision is the feminine of more. The act of seeing. It's from Ra'ah. It's a form of Ra'ah. A view, appearance, a thing seen. A shape. Okay, let's go back to this word here. Mara. A vision, a mirror. Let's see if we can see this here in word study. Something a little bigger here. Okay, here, the word study says a supernatural vision, a mirror. This noun is derived from the verb ra'ah, which is to see. As a supernatural vision, it is a means of divine revelation. This term can stand by itself, as it does here. What's it say? Read this one here.
It says, and Shemuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of Yahweh. And Shemuel was afraid to report the vision to Eli.
The vision, okay? And so that's the word there. It says that the term can stand by itself as it does there, or it can function as a cognate accusative as it does over here. What's this here? What's this?
It says, "And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, and they ran away to hide themselves. So I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my comeliness was destroyed in me, and I retained no strength."
Mm-hmm. So we see it used as different ways here. The word is sometimes used in the expression marot, halela. This is what we're talking about right here. Visions of the night, marot, halela. Meaning visions of the night, as what we're looking at right here, and visions of Elohim. It says over here, the word is only used once in the Hebrew Bible to signify a mirror or a polished metal plate. So it can be used as mirror, but mostly it's dealing with the idea of these divine visions that are given from the Most High. And so all that just to say, potentially he was sleeping, but he doesn't necessarily have to be sleeping. He's just receiving these thoughts, ideas, things that he's able to supernaturally see in his night. And he knows that it's from the Most High. And so, when we look over here, again, the thing that I wanted to kind of think about was the fact that we're looking at, again, within the context, the person being referred to in the context is Yisrael. And then inside of what's going on, for whatever reason, he is called Yaakov. And so we know that when we look at Yaakov, Jacob, of course, is the supplanter. The supplanter, right? And so the supplanter is one who supplants. Let's see if we can to supplant is to trip up the heels, right? Yaakov is the heel catcher, right? And so when we think about supplanting, when we think about this deed here, to remove or displace by stratagem, or to displace and take the place of, as a rival supplants another in the affections of his mistress or in the favor of his prince, to overflow, to undermine. It doesn't seem like there's positive connotations that go along with supplanting, even though we're talking about, the father of the nation, basically, right? But his name, although the thing that he acquires by way of supplanting is something that is prophesied to have happened by the Almighty, we can't get around the fact that the way in which he done it was through undermining, right? He went about gaining these things that were said to be his from the Father, he goes about gaining these things in a negative way.
He gets validated.
Wait, what?
And so he gets his act. He gets validated, basically.
What do you mean?
Oh, like the Most High is validating him.
Wait a second. What do you mean? What are you saying?
He's validating what he did, basically. He's saying it was okay.
Is that what he's doing? Hold on. What? What are you saying?
I'm just saying he did something bad.
He did something bad, yes.
But the result got validated.
I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's how we should look at it. I think that the Most High had an end.
And he already won.
Yaakov had knowledge of the end. Well, more specifically, his mother had knowledge of the end, and she wanted to reach the end by any means necessary. We don't know if there would have been another way to have gotten it, but we do know that if anything, Yaakov lived up to his name as being a supplanter and overthrower and underminer. But again, when we think about the idea of Jacob, Yaakov, the supplanter, the underminer, these things that are associated with his name are things that cause us to think about things that are associated with the carnal mind, right? They cause us to think about things that are connected with the flesh. Yaakov sought to acquire, spiritual blessings by way of the flesh. And so the thing that he did to acquire the thing that the Most High had for him, he did it by the flesh, and then therefore he has now physical consequences that he has to now deal with as a result of it. And so you might say, well, yes, this validates. What'd you say?
Validates.
It validates what the Most High said. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean,
but
it validates the result of what he did.
Okay, so you're talking about the result, and what I'm saying is that this so-called validation of the result has physical consequences that he has to deal with. And so I'm saying that in a perfect world, he could have let the Most High's will and word be true and reached it outside of these physical consequences that he ends up getting. I don't know what that reality looks like, in the multiverse. I don't know what that line, what it looks like. But it's obvious that there were negative consequences, based on this thing that he clearly did from a physical, carnal, fleshly perspective. Now, when we think about, again, Yaakov, the name, and what it represents from a kind of prophetic standpoint, again, we're dealing with this carnal mind. And so the things that are kind of highlighted in the meaning of the name, these things are carnal things, right? Things that deal with one's carnal appetite. I'm going to try to undermine you in your situation because I have some envy or some jealousy inside of me that's motivating my actions and deeds and things that that I'm doing. I see something that you have, and I want to try to find a way to make your things my things, right? I want to cause you to have a downfall
Oh, wow.
so that I can rise up. I want to bring you down so that I can get on top of you, right? I want to overthrow you, right? The reason why I would be doing these things, these are carnal things, right? These are things that pertaineth to the body and the body's desires and my flesh's appetites, right? These are things that pertaineth to those desires. And so this is, as a human being, really this is our baseline, right? This is where we begin in carnality. I'm able to look at the most perfect image of carnality when I look and I see my child, my littlest baby, where the only thing that he cares about is his own self, his own carnal desires. He's just raw. He's just a raw, perfect example of humanity as a whole. He only wants the things that are best for him. He don't care about the things that pertaineth unto me and my needs or anyone else. He wants what he wants, and he wants you to give him what he wants by all means necessary, right? This is carnality. This is where we all begin. And then we have to be brought out of this thought process. We have to be brought into maturity, because this is obviously not profitable behavior, right, by any means. And so again, we think about Yaakov, and what he represents with this carnality. The idea of carnality can really be thought of as the unconverted man. Just that base level, that human experience, which, as the scripture says in Romans, is enmity. Here, let's look at it. Romans 8. What's Romans 8? Romans 8. Read verses 6 and 7.
Romans 8. For the mind of the flesh is death, but the mind of the spirit is life and peace. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim, for it does not subject itself to the Torah of Elohim, neither indeed is it able.
Enmity is an enemy, right? The mind of the flesh is a sworn enemy, arch nemesis towards Elohim. The Most High don't really want nothing to do with that carnal mind. He wants you to be so far away from that carnal mind, because when you're dealing with that carnal mind, the carnal mind is death. It can only lead to death. It can't lead to life. The mind of the spirit, that's life and that's peace. But the mind of the flesh, the carnal mind, is death. And so again, if we're thinking about Israel or Yaakov, again, where again the point in the story is refers to him as Yisrael, but then when we get inside of the narrative of it, the Most High is calling him Yaakov. Why? Is there something that he's doing? Is there some things that are some traits that are being manifest inside of him that's calling for the Most High to refer to him as his former name, his former self, that causes us to think about carnality and overthrowing and all of these things that connect us to the flesh. Why is the Most High? Why has he gone back? Why has he gone back? In the way in which he's referencing this one who he himself renamed in the first place. Oh, wait, I'm missing some of this stuff. What's this say here? Jacob and Esau both were doing those things in the womb. Oh, yes, they were both trying to be first, right? Because again, they were human, right? That's what we do. We just want to be first as humans, like, and we'll push somebody out the way to get there, right? And so again, this is kind of that base level, right? But we're talking about this carnal mind, right? This carnal mind. And so let's think about why the Most High now wants to go backwards and refer to Yisrael as Yaakov. And so the scripture tells us, the scripture helps us to understand this. If we go, let's go back to what we're looking at here. Let's go back to Bereshit. Let's go back to Bereshit 46. Read, let's see here. Verse 3. Read again verse 3.
And it says, I am the Elohim of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Mitzrayim, for I shall make you there into a great nation.
Okay, so Yaakov, Yisrael, needs a reminder here. He needs to be reminded. There's some pretty heavy things going on here if we just think about what's going on. His son, who he thought was dead, has somehow resurfaced. He miraculously has risen from the dead. Joseph. And calls for him from Egypt to go and meet with him after all this time of him being gone. Yisrael, of course, is in fact at this time in the land of his fathers, the place where the Most High had brought him to. He's good. Well, he's not necessarily good because no one's good because it's a time of famine. But, this is the place where the Most High has given to him. And meanwhile, Joseph is calling for his whole family to come down to Egypt. And so this, from a carnal, fleshly, physical perspective, there's uneasiness, probably, I would say. There's fear about the unknown. What's going to happen? what's gonna happen when I go down to this place? There's this uncertainty, right? Jacob, quote unquote, Jacob needs to be strengthened, right? His flesh is weak. He's afraid. There's fear. He don't know what's going to happen when he goes down there, right? And we see, when we look, this, son, this is an unspoken thing. We look in verse 2. We look in verse 2 here. This is an unspoken thing where we see Yaakov, Yaakov, when he's calling out to him, and he says his name 2 times, right? This is a unspoken idea, which brings about the idea of intimacy, right, and care, right? When he says his name 2 times like this, and so this is something that we're able to see again that's beneath the actual text, where the Most High is saying, even just by saying his name, he's letting it be known that he cares. He cares for Yaakov, right? There's care that is, directed towards him. And then he says, he tells him, reiterates to him, I am the El.
Yep.
Elohim of your father. He's bringing back this strength and firmness to Yaakov in this time of trouble, right? He's having some serious difficulties here because of the fact that he's got to go down into Egypt, away from his land, and go see who his sons are saying, right? He don't even know, for a matter of fact, if it really is Yosef there. This is all just hearsay, right? There's a man who's saying that he's Yosef, that's in Egypt, who's saying, pack up you and all of your people and come down and be with me. There is a huge amount of unknownness. He don't have modern technologies. He can't look up his Facebook account and see, do some detective work on him ahead of time. You ever just do that? You see somebody, a name, and then you sit there and you do some detective work on them on Facebook, and you see, on Facebook. You can't. I don't know who you know. Oh, wait a second. I don't know who it is that you know that's Googleable. If I Google my name right now, I don't believe you getting nothing right now. And so I'm saying that, you look to the things that everybody got. You see what they be posting on social media. But he don't got none of that. He got his sons went down. They came back and they said that they brother that they left for dead is alive, and he wants us to come down. And so I'm saying that he must have been afraid. And so it became necessary for the Most High to reassure him. And the way in which he reassures him is by saying, I am Elohim. Fear not. Right? He said, I am Elohim. Fear not. So this helps us to understand why he's calling him Yaakov. Because he's not acting like Israel right now. He's acting like Jacob. He's acting like Jacob right now. You acting like just a real supplanter right now. I got love for you. but you ain't acting right. And you need to be fortified within yourself and understand that, first of all, I'm Elohim, and I'm the Elohim of your fathers. And I'm the one who brought you here in the first place. So why you think I'm going to sit up here and cause you to go into something that's not going to be good for you in the long run? He said in verse 3, do not be afraid. He said, fear not. He said, fear? No. Fear? No. No fear. Let's look at that. Fear. Yah-Re. Yah-Re, fear. Revere, frighten, affright, make afraid, dread, dreadful, put in fear, fearful, fearfully, fearing, so on and so forth. All of that, know that. All of that, know that. Not K-N-O-W, but N-O. Low. Right? He said, fear not. Fear not. Don't fear. Fear not. Not. That word there, all.
All.
Right? It's akin to low, but it's not low. Right? It's akin to it, but it's not it. Right? It is the word that means nothing, nay, neither, never, no, nor, not, nothing. Okay? All of these things. Fear not. Don't fear. Why? Because I am Elohim. Right? Moreover, he says to him, for I shall make you there into a great nation. When he says that, he's doubling down on what Abraham, what he told Abraham, and what he told Isaac, and what he told Jacob already. He's doubling down on the Abrahamic covenant when he says that I will make you into a great nation. You thought I was just going to make you into a great nation in this land that you was already in. But meanwhile, I'm so mighty. He said, I am the mighty. And then he said, the mighty ones of your Elohim. He said, I'm so mighty that I'm going to take you away from the place that I gave you, just so I could take you away and make you great and then bring you back again. And so even in that process, if I'm already here, why can't I just blow up right here? Why do I go somewhere else and get big and then come back? But that's really just showing the mightiness of the mighty one. Is that he's not going to make your situation just all perfect and easy for you to be able to comprehend and understand. I'm already here. I might as well just, why I got to leave to come back? If I'm already here, I should just be able to just do what I got to do here and be great right here. But for him to be able to go away and become great somewhere else. And then he said, come back. He said, in verse 4, he said, I myself am going down with you to Mizraim. It's interesting that these words, he could have just said, I am going with you. But I like how it'd be like, in verse 4, I myself am going down with you. And when we look at this word, I will go down, yarad, it only means this. It only means down, right? To descend, to go downwards, right? Conventionally to a lower region, the shore, the boundary, the enemy, to bring down, all of these things, bring down, carry down, cast down, all these things, down, 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 right? This word literally means down. He's going down with you. I'm going down to the depths with you. And I myself shall certainly bring you up again. Now, again, if we look at verse 4, as we're looking at it, again, italicized here, KJV, italicized means it's not there. Right? It's added just for understanding purposes. But when we look at what he says, this word here, first of all, we can see it right here. I shall surely bring thee up. Surely is not there either. It's just up. Right? It's really up. I'll also bring you up. Bring you up. Allah. Right? Which is up. It means up. Right? To arise, to ascend. Right? The breaking of day where the sun comes up. Right? To bring up. Right? To burn up. To carry up. Right? All this stuff that's going up. Right? So the word literally means up. Up. I'm going down with you, and I'm going to bring you up to the highest heights. Surely up. You're going to be so up, there's not going to be no thoughts about whether you're down or whether you're up. You're going to know that you're up. You're going to be up. And I'm going to be there with you the whole entire time. And so he got to do all of this to reassure again Yisrael, who's acting like Jacob. Right? All this, and we see this all in these verses here, right? Just by the way that he's speaking to him, understanding that, he's the one who called him Israel. Why is he going back? Because he's acting back.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And he got to bring him back to reality that was who you was. That's your former self. Stop acting like him. Mm-hmm. You are new. New.
Validated.
You up. You cracking me up. Let's look at some of these comments over here. Hosea 4. Read that right there. Hosea 4 and 6. Right there in the comments.
Oh, the comments. It says...
It's right here, look.
There, I got it.
He don't have it on his phone.
Hosea 4 says, for Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer.
Wow. All right.
Now the Yahweh will feed them as a lamb in a large place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we see this. We see that there is kind of this back and forth thing with Israel. But when we look at this, it's the picture of man. The Most High has brought us out of our state of carnality. But we have to be reminded through the Ruach of what it is that the Most High has already done for us. And this is, most evident when we look at Israel as a nation, right? It's a picture of, as a man, and as a nation, right? It's a picture for us as individuals, right? Let's look at some other things here, because when we think about, again, this idea, Israel is, that spiritual mind, right? Israel contends with Elohim and prevails, right? That's what it says over there in Genesis, where Genesis, 32 and 28. Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with Elohim and with men and have prevailed. Mm-hmm. Right? And so this is Israel. He fights for that which is spiritual as opposed to the carnal, right? And so when we look at Jacob, he goes back and forth. I'm calling him Jacob. I'm thinking about Israel, right? He goes back and forth, so we see where, it gives us this picture then of this back and forth that, we have to, think about. And so let's look at some things over here because, Scripture kind of verifies this idea that we deal with in terms of this back and forth where we need to have that reassurance, right? We don't need anything more. We've been given the thing, all that we've been needed, but we need to be reminded of what it is that we've been given. Let's look at some things over here. Just like Jacob had to be reminded that he's Israel. Let's look at Romans 7. Romans 7, start reading at verse 18.
For I know that in me, that is my flesh, dwells no good. For to wish is present with me, but to work the good I do not find.
Okay, very good. So he's talking about in me. He's dealing with in his carnality, in his flesh, in his body. Right? He tells you, for in me, he's telling you what in me is. That is, in my body, in my flesh. There's no good there. Why? Because your flesh is that baby that wants what it wants, regardless of whether it's right or whether it's wrong. It only wants to pacify its own carnal desires, right? For to wish is present with me. I know that there's things that I should positively hope for. Those things are in me, but to work the good, I can't within my flesh, because my flesh only cares for itself. Verse 19.
19 says, for the good that I wish to do, I do not do. But the evil I do not wish to do, this I practice.
I don't want to do this evil thing. I don't want to do it, but somehow I just end up doing it again. Because of this flesh of mine. Because of this carnality. Right? Verse 20.
20, and if I do that which I do not wish, it is no longer I who work it, but the sin dwelling in me.
It's not even me. It's not even me. It's the sin that dwells in me. It's my carnality. Right? It's this flesh. It's this flesh. 21.
21, I find therefore this law that when I wish to do the good, that the evil is present with me.
Okay, now, see, so now this is another thing. When he says, I find therefore this law, this is not an additional thing. This is the thing that he describes here. There's a law that exists, right? That's present with him, right? There's this thing that exists that's present with him. It's the thing that he's describing. That when I wish to do good, in my mind I want to do a thing, but then there's a battle that goes on between my mind and my flesh. And this is a law, right, that's present with me. Verse 22.
For I delight in the Torah of Elohim, according to the inward man.
Now there's this other thing that is dealing with the inward man. This is the spiritual man, right? Because the spirit, this is the innermost parts of you, right? Go ahead.
Says 23, but I see another Torah in my members, battling against the Torah of my mind.
Right, so there's this other thing there's a Torah of Elohim, the inward man, but then there's this thing that he was already describing, this other law, this external thing that's battling against the Torah of my mind, right? Go ahead.
And also bringing me into captivity to the Torah of sin, which is in my members.
Mm-hmm.
Wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death? Thanks to Elohim.
That's who.
Thanks to Elohim through Yeshua Messiah our Master. So then, with the mind, I myself truly serve the Torah of Elohim, but with the flesh, the Torah of sin.
Okay, very good. So we see this back and forth thing that exists between your flesh that wants to do something, and then the spirit of the Most High inside of you that wants to do something, right? And then we already read in chapter 8, where it talks about the fact that being carnally minded is death. When we live a life that's according to this law that dwells in our members, the end thereof is death. But when we live our life that goes according to the law that's in our inward man, that brings about life and peace. And so we have to continually be reminded of the fact that Elohim, through Yeshua Messiah, our Master, has saved us from this wretched body of death. Let's look at something else here. This wretched body. All right, let's look at something else here. Let's go to Baruch. One. Read verses 19 through 22.
It says, since the day that Elohim brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt, unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto Yahweh Elohim, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice. Wherefore the evils cleaved unto us, and the curse which Elohim appointed by Moses his servant at the time that he brought our fathers out of the land of Egypt, to give us a land that floweth with milk and honey, like as it is to see this day. Nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh Elohim, according unto the words of the prophets whom he sent unto us. But every man followed the imagination of his own wicked heart, to serve strange gods and to do evil in the sight of Yahweh our Elohim.
Okay, this verse 22 is what we want to kind of think about here, is that every man followed the imagination of his own wicked heart. The imagination, right? These thoughts and things that go on in our minds, right? That are a manifestation of things that are inside of our heart that need to be removed, right? And so we have these remnants of stoniness that remain inside of our wicked heart that causes us to gravitate toward these things that are contrary to the Most High. If we look back at Jacob, you know, there are places where Yaakov, where Yisrael was strong in faith. And in those places, he didn't need any edification. He didn't need any building up. Right, in those places, you know, he manifested episodes of faithfulness. He said to his sons, "Go ahead, take Benjamin down there, and if I bereave, I bereave. Whatever happens, happens. I don't even care. Whatever shall be, shall be. Que sera, sera. What is that, French?
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
That
Might be Spanish.
That might be Spanish.
In that regard, he showed faithfulness. Right? But over here, when this thing was just a little bit heavier, you know, Benjamin might have been the last hope that. Oh, thank you very much, Spanish. I don't know. I barely know English. He showed a bit of faithfulness in that regard, but when it, you know, Benjamin, the last remnant of his favorite wife, right, the woman, the wife of his youth, right, he was but his heart, who was gone, Joseph, you know, when he's entered back into the equation, now there's all of these variables that it just takes him off, and where now he forgets that the same Elohim that would have been able to sustain him if something bad would have happened with Benjamin is able to still sustain him now with these unknown things that are getting ready to go on. And so we have to be able to, through the Ruach HaKodesh, to allow the Spirit inside of us to bring us back, when we begin to slide off course, and bring us back to the middle. Here, let's go over here. Let's look at let's see here, 2 Corinthians 10, 3. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 3. Read down to verse 6.
It says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not fight according to the flesh."
We live in this carnal world, in this carnal existence. And we walk every day in the flesh. However, the fight that we're in is not according to the flesh. Even though the only thing that we see, feel, taste, touch, smell is this carnality.
Says, "For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds."
He said the weapons that we fight with, it ain't about a sword or a gun, right? Or anything that we're able to touch, but mighty in Elohim. Just like when we look back in Bereshit 46 and verse was that the second verse? Genesis 46. That was the third verse. Just like in the third verse of Genesis 46, where he said, I am mighty. I El, the Elohim of your father. When we look over here in 2 Corinthians 10 and 4, where he says the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but they're mighty. The weapons that we fight with are El, the Elohim of our Father, the Most High, the Spirit in you. The weapons that we fight with are the Ruach HaKodesh living inside of you, which are able to overthrow strongholds. Mm-hmm. He had some strongholds, Yaakov did. Man, you want me to sit up here and forget about all these things that I know about? I know the ups and downs of what's going to go on over here. I've been here for some time now. I may not be able to have all of the things that I need necessarily, but I got these comforts of knowing what's what. And you want me to sit up here and go down to now this unknown place to be with these unknown people? You want me to pack up all my stuff and go down there with them? But the apostle over here in 2 Corinthians is saying that when we dealing with these situations, that we may not be able to see the things that we fighting, but we able to understand that the weapons that we're using to fight these unknown things is the Ruach HaKodesh. And we able to overthrow these strongholds. In verse 5, what does it say?
Verse 5, overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against.
There is reasonings. What does this word mean? Casting down imaginations. Right? The scriptures version says overthrowing reasonings. The King James is imaginations, right? And just so you know, when we think about those apocrypha books, that was Greek, right? So we see imaginations over there. That's this right here. What this word mean? Logismos. Logismos. Computation, reasoning, conscience, conceit, imagination, thought. There's these thoughts that just rise up in your mind. What if this doubt, right? At the end of the day, these reasonings, these imaginations, these computations is doubt. There's things that are coming into your mind that's causing you to hesitate in regards to the things the Most High is going to have you. The Most High actually would have for Yaakov to go to Egypt. That's why he's saying, come on, go ahead down there. I'm coming with you. This is actually the will of the Father. So the will of the Father is made present to Yaakov, and in his mind, there's these reasonings that's going against the will of the Most High, saying, hold on, man, it's too dangerous to go down there. I don't know if Joseph is even really down there. I don't know what's going to happen. He might just kill us. He might kill me too for setting a bad atmosphere, for making him the favorite and making his brothers hate him. He don't know what's going down. Right? So he got these reasonings, these computations that's going on in his mind. Right? But the apostle is saying, cast these imaginations, these reasonings, these thoughts down. Overthrow them things. Right? They trying to rise up, you cast them down. Not only the imaginations, but then these high things, right? Keep on reading that.
It says every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim.
Okay, so there's a knowledge of Elohim. Right? There's a knowledge of Elohim. Now this is pretty heavy over here. I gotta look at y'all for this. Because when you think about the knowledge of Elohim and what that means, the idea of you knowing who Elohim is and knowing what he is capable of and having a clear understanding about who he is. The fact that he is, in fact, the Elohim of heaven above and of earth below, and there's none besides him. Right? And so if we have this knowledge of Elohim, how could there be a thing that exists, that exalts itself against that. Go ahead, put it in the comments, the things that are able to be higher than the Most High. Go ahead, put that over there for me. I'll wait.
I'm gonna be waiting for.
What's the things that's higher than the Most High? Like he is the Most High. So how's there something that's higher than that? And so when you think about it in that way, right, it seems kind of silly to have a reasoning or a high matter that's even able to exalt itself against the knowledge of Elohim. But that's what the Most High had to do with Yaakov, is say, excuse me, I-L, the Elohim of your father, I'm going with you. Chill. You don't gotta worry. It's good. We good, fam. It's good. You don't gotta worry. Right? Those strongholds and reasonings and high matters that are trying to creep up and put themselves above me, they can't get there. They'll never make it. Right? They run out of steam before they get there. And what the rest of it say?
He says, taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Messiah.
It said, taking captive every thought. So all of those silly thoughts and reasonings, yes, they're silly, are taken captive and made to be obedient to the Lord of Lords. Right? The master of masters. The Elohim of Elohim. Right? And so when we think about what we see over here in chapter 46 in regards to Yisrael and the way that the Most High deals with him, and the fact that he's saying to him, don't worry, I'll be with you. We're going down together, but we're going to come back together. I'm going down in the depths with you, but I'm not going to leave you down there. And by the way, we ain't staying down there. We're coming back. But you're going to be, when you come back, a great nation. And so again, when we look over here, all of these things are being said to us when we look over at Bereshit, Genesis chapter 46, just in those first 4 verses, when we see the way that Elohim deals with Israel. Right? Because we're able to, for the Most High to say, don't be afraid, he's not going to say don't be afraid if there's not that fear is not there, right? He's not going to call Yisrael Yaakov if he's not acting like Yaakov, right? And so again, we're able to look here and see kind of beneath what is on top and gain a nice little lesson there about dealing with this carnal mind that exists and combating it with the Ruach HaKodesh. We're in this situation where we're in this battle where we continually have to strive for righteousness, right? We have to continue to remain on task, right? If we're driving a vehicle, right? You're holding on to the wheel, and you constantly have to, keep on the road, right? You got to move the thing. You have to correct. You have to make adjustments, right? On the road, right? You're going left and you're going right in order to go straight. And so it's not just like an autopilot type of situation, right? It's where adjustments need to be made. And we have to allow the Ruach HaKodesh help us through and remind us, in these times that he's willing and able to do everything that is necessary in order for us to remain on task. And we see that here. So it's just very interesting when we look at these verses here where, we see, the Most High speaking to Yisrael, again, and comforting him and encouraging him to go ahead and continue. Lastly, in verse 4 over here, read this last sentence here in verse 4.
The last sentence, it says, "And let Joseph put his hand on your eyes."
Okay, I thought that was interesting because, again, we see that there is this issue with Yaakov in regards to, this fear that he has about Egypt, what's going to happen, and probably also Joseph. And this is why he mentions Joseph, where he says, "And let Joseph put his hand on your eyes," right? Where he says, let Joseph actually touch you, right? Let your long lost son put his hands on you and give you that final bit of relief that you are waiting for, right? And so the Most High even affirms, confirms that Joseph is indeed over there, and all of his dreams are going to be reality when he gets over there. And so, every possible positive thing that that could happen for Yisrael happens over here. I guess it's not even enough to say, well, I'm the Elohim of Elohim and I'm going to be down there with you. But not only that, but your long lost son, by the way, really is over there, and he's going to touch your body when you get there. Okay, what's this say over here? Comments here. Very important to note that Yaakov acknowledges the Elohim of his fathers on his journey, and before he gets to his destination, and receives comforting word back from Elohim. Yes, the Most High is, he loves his people, right? And he allows for us to know that he loves us and he's there for us, right? And so we're able to see, firsthand that, how he deals with his people in regards to his loving kindness towards us. Okay, let's look at a little of chapter 48. Excuse me, hold on. 47. Anybody has anything they want to add in regards to chapter 46, just go ahead and put it there in the comments. So let's go in the meantime to the next chapter. Read some of these verses here. Let's start reading some here in 47 here, starting with the first verse.
Then Joseph went and spoke to Pharaoh and said, My father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds, and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan, and see, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took 5 men from among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. And they said to Pharaoh, We have come to dwell in the land, because there is no pasture for your servants' flock, for the scarcity of food is severe in the land of Canaan. And now, please, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Mitzrayim is before you. Settle your father and brothers in the best of the land. Let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And if you know of capable men among them, then make them chief herdsmen over my livestock. And Joseph brought in his father Jacob and sent him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, How old are you? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my sojournings are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life. And they have not reached the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their sojourners. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. And so Joseph settled his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Mitzrayim, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided his father and his brother and all his father's household with bread for the mouth of the little ones.
Okay, that's good. So when we see over here, when Yaakov, when Yisrael and the rest of Joseph's family arrived there in Egypt, they in fact are blessed, right? And again, when we look at the life of Joseph, who was one who always leaned on the strength of the Most High and received blessings as a result of it, we see that now the family is in fact reunited. And so we see that it's interesting that when we think about Israel as a whole, we think about the covenant that was made with Abraham, the promise that was made to Abraham for those that come after, Isaac and Jacob. We see that this situation here is an integral part of the process. Again, they were already in the land that was given to them, by the Father. But the Most High, verified this trip, this trek, this journey, this sojourner, this sojourney that was made by all of them to go down into Egypt. And he said that he was going to go down, and not only go down, but to bring them up, and they would be a great nation. And so it's interesting that we see here just kind of the beginnings, where there's all of these, they get this choice land there, right? We know that this is not the promised land, but this is a place where they're able to grow and thrive, and be. At this particular time, this is the best place for them to be at, right? Because where they were, because of the famine, they weren't able to thrive. In fact, if they would have stayed there, they would have died. Right? And so this is a way that the people are preserved, and the people are not in their land, and yet they're able to be preserved. And so it's interesting when we look at Genesis chapter 47, where we see that the people of the Most High who are not in the land of promise are able to be in a place that is not their home, in a place where these strange people serve strange and wicked gods, and they are able to do and be who the Most High called for them to be, in spite of the surroundings around them. At this time, they're free, right? They're able to do what they want to do. In fact, we're able to look at the Pharaoh who looks at these people and says, your God, he's a great God, right?
He wants to be blessed by him.
Yeah. And so, even though these things are probably, from their perspective, selfish, let me have these, they could kind of just be like these little tokens. Like, life should be good. I got God's people right over here.
That's why it is good. I'm sorry. That's why it was good.
Yeah. And so, for him, it's win-win, right? And so, but it's interesting when we look at kind of this situation over here where we see that, the people who are living still according to the Most High, following the leading and guiding of the Most High, where he said that he was going to be there right with them, and them being in this place that wasn't their own, and yet still they're still able to be preserved. And so it's interesting when we think about our situation dealing with the Most High's people here in captivity, where we don't dwell in the land of promise, but we don't need to be in the land of promise in order to receive the blessings of the Most High. We can be right where we're at, and he be right with us and sustain us, and keep us where we're at, and he's able to, just as he did with Yisrael, to go down into the depths with us and bring us up into the heights, when this is all said and done. So it's interesting when we look at chapter 47, where of course this is a narrative of what goes on with Israel and Joseph as they go and find favor in the land of Mitzrayim at this particular time. But it also causes us to be able to think about the fact that we're really in a similar situation where we're in a place that's not our own, and it's necessary for us still to continue in faith in the Most High, and live a life that's contrary to the mainstream, and yes, the status quo, right? And not bend to the ways of this world, but to maintain a the knowledge of Elohim and continue to walk in his ways and, receive blessings from the Most High, in this place that's cursed, right? This is a place that's totally contrary to the Most High. When we look at Mizraim, these people were they had a god for everything, right? And so it's interesting that we see here, even at the beginnings of things, this is just kind of the establishing of this people. But again, they have to. It's interesting that even Israel, grows just like we see in nature, right? Where you have this known thing, right? This seed, right? This potential that, it has to be taken and planted right in the depths of the earth, so that that thing that it was that went down into the depths can die, so that it can rise again, just like Joseph, right? Joseph did the exact same thing. He had to go down in the depths so he could become nothing.
He even went to a pit.
He went into a real pit. He went to the depths of Sheol,
Then he went to prison.
of the earth, right? And so that he can die and be broken down to the very last compound and rise up again. And so Israel is doing the same exact thing. Israel at this time as a nation is a whole complete thing. And you understand exactly what this thing is. But it's about to go down in the depths. And it's about to be broken utterly, so that it could be reborn and be greater than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so it's the same thing when we think about us as individuals, where, we start off, as just nothing but potential. Right? But at some point, we have to be broken down. And all of the known things about us kind of stripped away. And the thing that emerges is this this mixture, this combination of the spirit of the Most High in us, and the things that he takes about each and every one of us that cause us to grow into whatever it is that he wants for us to be. But we have to go through this process of going down to the pit and being destroyed, so that we can be resurrected again.
It's like a process of refinement. If there's a purpose behind the refining, you're not getting put through the fire just to burn or just to suffer, but there's a purpose behind that process.
Yeah, exactly.
He was also enslaved too.
Yeah.
The story is basically the same as ours.
He was enslaved.
He was a prisoner.
Israel was enslaved. We was enslaved. It's all the same.
We'll put a good verse in there.
What does it say? Psalms 40:2. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is right there. That's Genesis 47. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. Let's go over to 48 to look at a couple things here. let's look at, let's see here. Let's read. I want to read, let's see here. Oh, let's just read this. Let's read this chapter here. Go ahead, verse 1.
And it says, "And after these events, it came to be that it was said to Joseph, 'See, your father is sick.' And he took with him two sons, Manasseh and he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told, 'See, your son Joseph is coming to you.' And Israel strengthened himself and sat on the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, 'El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, See, I am making you fruitful, and shall increase you, and make you an assembly of peoples, and give this land to your seed after you as an everlasting possession. And now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Mitzrayim, before I came to you in Mitzrayim, are mine. As Reuben and Shimeon, they are mine. Your offspring, whom you shall bring forth after them, are yours, and let them be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. And I, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan, on the way when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. And Israel saw Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, They are my sons, whom Elohim has given me in this place. And he said, Please bring them to me, and let me bless them. And the eyes of Israel were dim with age, and he was unable to see. And he drew them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see your face, but see, Elohim has also shown me your seed. So Joseph brought them forth from between his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left toward Israel's right, and brought them near him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, The Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak walked, the Elohim who has fed me all my life long to this day, the messenger who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the youths, and let my name be called upon them in the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak, and let them increase to a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it was evil in his eyes, and he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from the head of Ephraim to the head of Manasseh. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also becomes a people, and he also is great. And yet his younger brother is greater than he, and his seed is to become the completeness of the nations. And he blessed them on that day, saying, In you Israel shall bless, saying, Elohim make you as Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said to Joseph, See, I am dying, but Elohim shall be with you, and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow.
All right. Very good. So it's interesting when we look over here, this situation here with Ephraim and Manasseh, the blessing of the sons of Joseph. When we look at this here, it's interesting. When we look at this, we see this situation here that deals with really adoption, right? We look at Ephraim and Manasseh, where they essentially are added to the sons of Israel as far as status is concerned, right? Where he basically, in his blessing of his son Joseph, kind of elevates Ephraim and Manasseh to, from basically this grandson status to a status of sons, basically. Where, it's not like you can't look at this and say, well, Joseph is pushed to the side and replaced by his children, but when you think about it, this is life. This is life. We have children that replace us, right? It's just the nature of things, right? It's the circle of life, right? So it's not as if it's like a moving out of the way of Joseph. This is probably the greatest honor one could have, was to instead of having one spot in the family, he has two spots, right? And
I mean, Jacob just came back and did the same thing he always did with Joseph. He gave him two portions.
I mean, how could he do anything but that? I mean, it's his heart. It's in his heart to love Joseph the best.
But didn't Joseph earn it though?
I feel like it. I mean, he saved the nation. He literally did. I think.
He deserved it.
He's not. I mean, this. If you want to talk about validation, you can say that it validates the partiality of Joseph, because look at what he's done. He's done all of this, right? He brought the family out of the jaws of death. They're gonna die from the plague of famine, if not for the mind and wisdom of Joseph, right? Being directed by the Most High, of course, but we see that, all of the partiality that was given to him in the past, it all came to be. When we think about his initial dream of the sun and the moon and the stars all bowing down, that's this. It's all come to fruition, right? And so it's interesting when we look over here at this whole situation, and also when you think about Jacob and Esau. Right? When you had this mix up of the oldest and the youngest. Right? And the older serving the younger. Right? And they both will be great, but one greater than the other. And it's like you have the same kind of a situation. This is not Israel just talking out the side of his neck. Right? These are prophetic utterances that are coming forth.
Mm-hmm. You don't think he wanted to continue the tradition of, putting the last first?
I think that this was something that this was a spiritual thing that he was speaking over here, and it wasn't just like his own ideas, right? Because when you think about it, it gives us the fact that he was blind.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he had people in front of him, but he wasn't able to see, right? But when he went to do the blessing, he did the old switcheroo on him. Joseph put them where he was. Hold on, I mean, let's let's back up for a minute. Are these babies?
No, they're not babies.
It just seems like
It was little.
in my mind.
I hope
Young.
In my mind, Joseph got his sons, and he's down on the knee, and he takes his sons and sticks them out like with his hands. Like in my mind, that's what it seems like it describes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, right? When he says it talks about him getting down on his knee and bowing down to the ground and having one in each hand. Is he just like is he like the Incredible Hulk, where he's able to hold these young men in each hand, or is he like having them stand there and he's behind them and he's touching them, pushing them forward? Just the way that it reads is just in my mind. I see a man on his knee with his head down, holding his two sons, and it's like if I got like a little Moshe, two Yosis, I could see myself doing that, but like two Hiskies, it's like
So you got your hand on their back,
yeah.
I guess they did, or unless they was kneeling down.
I'm just
I
saying
guess
in
they
my
was,
mind
yeah.
when I'm reading it, that's just what it looks like in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably more like him behind them, kind of holding them forward.
Because the beds back then was mats, essentially. It wasn't even like,
Yeah, like flat mats on the ground.
It wasn't like we're sitting all the way up, like
Yeah.
But I hope they was young so it wouldn't cause another
a big, huge.
Esau Jacob thing where, they're looking at each other like, wait a minute, you taking my blessing?
Yeah.
How you gonna get first?
Right.
Yeah.
Dibs at life and blessing over me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this here. Let's go down. All right, so let's look at verse 5. Let's go back up. Let's go back up to verse 5. Read again verse 5.
And now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Mitzrayim, before I came to you in Mitzrayim, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. They are mine.
Okay, so when we think about what's going on here in terms of this kind of addition, what exactly is going on here in terms of this verse here when he says as Reuben and Simeon are mine? Is that just to say that Ephraim and Manasseh are mind just like the rest of the brothers, or Reuben and Simeon specifically? Because he mentions those two specifically, but what's the birth order?
He was done with Reuben and Simeon. They did too much.
Well, I mean, if you think about it like that, the way that they're his is not by not being.
Oh, I
his.
guess he's getting. That's true. Because he could have said like you are to me, and then picked another second favorite, maybe Benjamin.
Yeah, he could have said as Joseph and Benjamin are mine,
That's
Ephraim
how
and
he was.
Manasseh. Are mine. But he said specifically Reuben and Simeon.
He was excellent on one.
I'm saying, is he talking about birth order? Reuben's one. Who's number two? Simeon?
Simeon number 2? I never really learned them in order.
I gotta look it up.
I never learned to. I know it was.
Reuben
Simeon is a second.
and Simeon, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, are we giving Ephraim and Manasseh first and second place over here?
Yeah, they got first and second.
Is that what that's saying?
Yeah.
Because we can't just say that it just means, or are we saying that just the way they are in terms of their real live sons? These are real live sons, and we're counting Ephraim and Manasseh just like real live sons. Or is it even more specific than that when it deals with the fact that Reuben and Simeon is 1 and 2,
I think that.
and they're literally giving Ephraim and Manasseh Reuben and Simeon's spot as number 1 and number 2.
Yeah. I think that. I'm in agreement with that. Number 1 and number 2. But he was also done with Reuben for what he did, obviously, and Simeon what he did with his, as far as causing all that disruption with.
I know, but we're gonna look at in the
next-
preceding chapters when it deals with, like, whenever Simeon is mentioned, Levi's also mentioned.
Because then they both did
Right.
they did that together. Simeon and Levi went down.
They did it
Killed
together,
all those people, caused all that drama.
but what I'm saying is that when we look at Levi, okay, so when we look at the next chapter, well, not the next chapter, but when we see the, oh wait, that's the birth of, let me go over here real quick and just see what it says. No, yes, they're mentioned together.
Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords or implements of violence.
Right, so it has this bad kind of a situation that's mentioned with them together, combined. But I'm saying that it bumps them down, but it don't
Get rid of them.
disinherit. Right, there's not like a disinheritance that happens, but it does kind of bump them down the pecking order here. And so it's interesting when we look at the idea of, because essentially they were adopted by their grandfather, right? They went from being grandchildren to children in regards to inheritance. And so when you think about the ancient people, you know, there is kind of historical evidences of these types of situations where these things kind of take place in terms of the grandparents adopting their children. We don't even have to go to the ancients. We can think of modern times when people, their parents may have had these bad situations where it became necessary for the grandparents to kind of take a more parental role. But in this regards, again, we think about Joseph's situation. This is kind of this is a blessing where he is receiving a double inheritance, right? He's getting a double portion. His inheritance has been doubled. And so, again, we can't look at this as a thing where it's moving Joseph out of the way, but in fact, it's actually lifting him up, right? This is something that raises him in this situation up. And then we also see, read verse 9 again for us here.
And Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom Elohim has given me in this place." And he said, "Please bring them to me, and let me bless them."
Okay, and so we see that there is this blessing that goes forth to the sons, but again, this also is a blessing that goes forth to his own self, Joseph, his own self, right? That he's receiving this blessing from his father. And so when we think about the children, right? Children are, in fact, here, let's look at this. Psalms. What does verse 3 say?
Look, children are an inheritance from Yahweh. The fruit of the womb is the reward.
Okay, very good. So when we think about the children, right? The children are, in fact, an inheritance from the Most High. Right? The fruits of the womb is, in fact, a reward. Right? And so when we think about this Ephraim and Manasseh situation, not only has the Most High given him, Joseph, these children, these sons, to continue in, the ways, but they also have, so it's like they have this physical and spiritual blessing, really, that they receive when they get these blessings, right? And we think about this firstborn, even with Manasseh, just to get in the second place, is where you think about the fact that he essentially went from, as far as Israel is concerned, he wasn't even in the ranking. And so for the simple fact that he is, part of the 12 to begin with, is kind of a blessing. But it's like it's this inheritance to the nation, because these brothers, the 12 forefathers, are all nations within themselves, right? They're all their own sections, portions of the family as a whole. And so it's interesting that when we look at, their kind of induction into the family here, we see this kind of this inheritance thing as it begins to come together over here. But when we think about the idea of the children and the fact that the Most High wants for us to think about our children as a inheritance and a reward, right? We think about the commandments that tell us to teach our children diligently, right? It's not only for their own good, but it's for the continuation. It's the continuation of the people, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not only dealing with your own self, but it's dealing with the continuing of the generations behind you. And so it's interesting that the Most High, the way He has the commandments set up when He deals with His people, that He instructs His people to continue the process. When you think about the choosing of Abraham, He chose Abraham because He knew that Abraham would teach his children, right? When we look at Exodus 31 and verse, what is that? 16? What's this say?
Exodus.
What's 15 through 17 say right there?
6 days' work is done, and on the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, set apart to Yahweh. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Israel shall guard their Sabbath, to perform the Sabbath throughout their generations, as an everlasting covenant. Between me and the children of Israel it is a sign forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day He rested and was refreshed.
Okay, so it says children there, but that's not the children we're talking about. We're talking about over here, throughout their generations, right? The children of Israel, that's just the people, right? Shall guard a Sabbath, to perform a Sabbath throughout their generations. That's the kids and the kids' kids and the kids' kids' kids all the way down, right? The continuing of the ways. And so the Most High, the idea of a nation is the fact that we have these ways that we pass on to our children, that we have for them to learn from us so that they can grow up and teach them to their children. And then those children could grow up and teach them to their children throughout their generation as an everlasting covenant. So they keep on doing it. They keep on teaching their children as an everlasting covenant. And so it's this thing that you always do, and you keep on doing it throughout the generations. And so it's interesting that we look at these things where it seems like it's something that's not that uncommon, but it's interesting when you think about kind of contemporary thoughts, where you think about, like, for instance, those that are like the preacher's kid. I mean, sometimes they do follow in the ways. Sometimes they be the wildest ones.
Wildest one.
We saw that.
The daughters too.
Yes, the sons and the daughters, right? Because at some point, It has to go from being something that mommy and daddy told me to do. It has to turn into something that I want to do. Like, we can build a foundation, but that foundation has to be built upon, right? And we're not building on the foundation. We just building the foundation. The kids, they build upon the foundation. We just build the foundation. That's all we do. And so, but this is the way that the Most High will is done, actually, through the continuing of these ways going on through the children. Let's go down. Let's go back over to 48. I want to read real quick here. Let's see. 48. Read again. Read again verses, let's see, 15. And 16.
It says, and he blessed Joseph and said, the Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak walked, the Elohim who has fed me all my life, long to this day, the messenger who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the youths, and let my name be called upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzhak, and let them increase to a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Okay, very good. So when we think about this, let me read this in here. This is this other version that says, verse 15 says, the Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham, Isaac walked, and Elohim who shepherded me all my life unto this day, the angel who redeemed me from all evil, may he bless the boys, and through them let my name be perpetuated, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them multiply unto many in the midst of the earth. And so when we think about the kind of these things over here, the fact that the Most High, you know, part of this blessing here, where it says, let's see here, fed me. I think that is 15, where he, hold on a second, let me move this out the way. I think this is a word here. The Elohim which fed me all my life. Yes, Ra'ah, to tend a flock that is pasture, to graze. It's interesting, this word is phonetically the same as the word for seeing, right? It's a different word, but it sounds like it's phonetically the same as to see. But this word means to pasture, right? To shepherd, right? And so this is part of the thing that the Most High is, through this blessing here, is dealing with the fact that the Most High will, in fact, tend to you like a shepherd. He fed me all the day long, right? He tended to me all the day long. He provided for me my food and shelter and clothing all the day long, right? All of my life, since my duration. And so when we think about these things that is being given to the next generation, this blessing that he's blessing the children with in terms of them, you know, being introduced to the creator and sustainer of all things, you know, this is something that is, you know, critical to life, to having the creator and sustainer of all things, just as he walked with the forefathers, may he also walk with you. Just as he fed me all of my life, may he also feed you. Right? Just as he redeemed me from all evil, may he also redeem you. And so it's interesting when we think about the way that, this thing that our fathers did in terms of these blessings, that the way that they spoke to their children and over their children, right? It goes beyond just showing the children the ways, but having these pronouncements of blessings over them also, right? It adds as extra layer, this other element of things, added to the situation in terms of this is something that he must have done. He had to bless these children. He was getting old. He's not going to be around much longer. We need for this blessing to go forth. And so it's interesting when we look at these different things that our fathers did, the ways that they lived their lives, the things that they considered impossible really to live without. Like he wasn't able to not have the blessing go forth over these children, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just caused me really just to think about the fact that this is something that kind of is part of our Israelite culture, to really speak life to our children, right? We're teaching them the ways of life. We're speaking to them. It's only this. It's only this. It's only this. When we look at here, what's this say, Ray? Read verse 6 and 7 right there.
6 and 7. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children.
Right. The words of the commandments of the Most High. Those things is in your heart, and then not only in your heart, but you impress them to your children. And then what?
And shall speak of them when you sit in your house.
You just sitting around speaking about the ways of the Most High when you're in your house.
And when you walk by the way.
When you just walking by the way, you talking about it too. You walking by the way. You talking about the ways of the Most High.
And when you lie down.
When you about to go to sleep, you still talking about it.
And when you rise up.
And then in the morning, the next day, you talking about it some more. Right? You're continually imparting the ways of the Most High that are in your heart. You're imparting them to your children so that they can learn, not only learn the ways, but have the ways of the Most High in their heart, so that they're able to do the same thing when the time comes. And so it's interesting when we look at the forefathers, and when it gets to these of the forefathers, that these blessings and things become so important for them to transfer over to their children. All right, so there'll be more talk about blessings, of course, in the following chapter, so I don't want to go too much into that. If does anybody have any last thoughts, questions, or comments before we go ahead and be done for now?
I was going to say that You know, especially wrapping up the way it did is like you can't get out of something what you don't put in them. Like if you don't put it in them, you ain't gonna get nothing out of them. You know, and whatever you feed, the diet, you know, the knowledge, the wisdom, whatever you put in, you know, the next generation is what you're going to get out of them. And you see what we're getting out of the generation that's outside today is because the right thing is not being put into them. You know, the Most High is not being put into them. The fear of Elohim is not being put into them. So you're getting this negative response. So, you know, it's dire to put these things into.
Yes.
And then add that extra layer of covering by asking the Most High to put something into them to watch over them as well.
Yeah. Yes. Very good.
That's why they gotta be that rod pastured. You know.
That's
They
it.
gotta experience correction and leading and all that.
That's right. Because if you don't do it, you must hate them. Then if you don't do it, you can't love them. Right? Okay. Very good. So what?
Tomorrow we might try to broadcast. We have good enough internet.
Yeah, we'll see what. We'll see what we're able to do tomorrow. Of course, we have our Shavuot Holy Convocation. We'll be outside. We won't have clear Wi-Fi. We'll see if we're able to. It'd be nice if we were. Maybe we can. If you are a subscriber to the channel, you'll be notified
Yeah.
if we are broadcasting. If you've never subscribed or hit the notification button, you'll never know, what we're doing because you never subscribed, right? So go ahead and do that so that if we just happen to just pop up with a broadcast, you'll be in the know.
And next week we don't know if we're broadcasting yet either. Next Shabbat.
All right. Yes. Also, yes. Well, yes. We might not be doing it as well next week. We'll be sojourning, so we'll see what happens. We'll try to maybe have something pre-recorded, but if not, you'll be up on whatever happens. When we do it through the notifications, right? All right. So we want for you to have a wonderful rest of the Shabbat day. Y'all willing? We'll be back when the Most High has for us to be back. And we'll say to you for now, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.